Welcome to the Tansson Talks show. I'm Brandon, the host of the show, and I always love doing this. I'm very excited to be back into regular episodes, and I'm excited to go ahead and kick this off with my guest here today, Srijoni. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you. And so, first of all, how is your day going thus far?
My day is going great. It's a nicer day here. It's not terribly cold. It's warming up, so it's nice.
That is good. And yeah, I'm so excited for us to finally be able to chat.
Yeah, me too. It's been in the books for quite a while.
Yes, it definitely has. And if you're able to go ahead and introduce yourself for the watching or listening audience here today.
Yeah. Hi, I am Srijoni. I am a consultant at Apex PR, which is a full service public relations agency here in Toronto. I have been in the industry for around 2 years now. I graduated with an undergrad in communication studies and a postgrad in public relations and digital marketing. And I found my way here. A lot of what I do is media relations, influencers, and events. Those are my three favorite things.
That's amazing. Well, first of all, let's say congratulations on getting to where you are thus far.
Thank you.
Of course. And I'm so excited for us to go ahead and get started.
Yeah, let's go.
Awesome. And so, of course, you mentioned that you are in public relations and communication with a little bit of media. And so, have you always been interested in all of this?
I think I have. I feel like I remember being in high school and being I was taking science classes, but I was really not good at that. And I was taking like psychology and like media studies, and those are the things that interested me more. I was always a bit more on the creative side, and like I liked making things and talking to people. So I kind of just went into communications in my undergrad, and then from there I ended up in media.
Well, that's great. And yeah, I definitely know that there is, I think, such a distinction between some of the social sciences and then the creative side. And even the studying of it is even a completely different field.
Yeah, for sure. It's a different set of skills sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely is. And so, at what point during your studies did you really realize that this was the field for you?
I remember being in my final year of my undergrad, and I knew I wanted a postgrad, but I wasn't sure in what. And at that point, I was a secretary of communications for my department. So I was doing a lot of events. I was talking to people. I was coordinating all of these interviews. And my professor came up to me, and she was the one who was like, I think you'll be great at public relations. Have you ever thought about that? And that's when I actually like researched about public relations, spoke to a lot of people who are in PR, and I was like, this seems like a great fit because I like doing different things at different points, and with PR, you're constantly on the edge. You're doing a new campaign every other month, so it felt like a good fit. And I went into it being like, let's try this, and I really liked it, and I'm still here.
Well, that's amazing. And yeah, certainly love that part of the communication field myself. I feel like that's the best part, that you get to be in a little bit of anything and everything in terms of industries.
You really get to mold it after what you want because pretty much every industry needs communication specialists. So you like even in PR you can choose to go into like different sectors and do like fully different things.
And what part would you say is your favorite?
My favorite is events. I love doing events, being a part of events, hosting events. It's very stressful at some points and it takes a lot of logistics to bring it together. But being at an event on the day and seeing everyone enjoy it, seeing it go smoothly, or even if it doesn't go smoothly, you fix the problems. But being in that space and the next day when you're like, oh my God, we pulled this off. Like it was all just some plan and then we just pulled it off and everyone enjoyed it. I think that's so satisfying. I'll never get tired of it.
I love that. And I mean, I certainly feel a little bit of that in video production, where you might end up in this production and you are going in. It's like, yeah, this is a catastrophe. I don't know how we can pull this off, but then we do it, and it's an amazing afterthought realizing we were able to
Yeah.
do this. We didn't think we could do it, but we did it.
Exactly. And I think a lot of the events that we do, it challenges us to like do new things. Like a recent event I did, we were putting up an art gallery. I've never really done something like an art gallery. Like I visited them. Putting them up is like a different skill set. So like I had to learn a lot of logistics around like framing, different types of frames, different types of like paper and like all of these different things I wouldn't have known otherwise. So it's every event is a new challenge, I feel.
Absolutely. And yeah, and so backtracking a little bit with your education before you had realized that this was the field for you. So where were you in terms of education? Like what did you want to do with your education prior to all of this?
There are a few different ways I imagined I could go. So my undergrad is in communication studies, and the program I went to was a very intense program where we did everything you can imagine. We were doing theater. I made a film. I was doing casting at one point. We were doing literature classes. We were doing translations. We were doing publishing. We were doing a lot of different things. So one of the other areas that really excited me was publishing. I could see myself going into publishing, like even now, like maybe like marketing or PR for a publishing house or something. Like that was one area I was really interested in because I really like reading books and I've always been interested in reading. So it felt like a natural segue. And then I also did a film and that was a great experience. And I also imagined myself somewhere like a cinematographer or a production assistant because I think production assistant in events like it's a lot of like logistics related things which I enjoy like talking to people and managing those expectations. So I did see myself going in those two routes also. Like if I wasn't in PR, I'll probably end up in one of those two spaces.
Well, that's certainly interesting, and I like that you were able to get that like immersive view into communication because I mean it's such a vast field, or rather,
Yeah.
field of fields.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm really grateful for like the department I was in. It was a program in India because I'm from India, and it really opened my eyes to like so many doors that didn't even know was possible.
Well, that's amazing, and so I definitely did want to explore that too. So I know that you mentioned that you're currently located in Toronto within Canada, and so how did you end up there from where you're originally from in India?
It's a mix of a lot of different things. I wanted a new challenge, and what's more challenging than moving to a country where you know nobody, right? I think I wanted a challenge. I wanted to try something different. Like I've been in the same country I was born in for 21 years. I moved here when I was 21. So I had been there for quite a long time and I was like, I want to explore more cultures. And I feel Toronto was a great city for that because you get a piece of every single place here. Like there is like everyone is here from every part of the world has touched this place in some way. So that really appealed to me, that multicultural aspect where I would be able to learn a lot from the people around me and experience at least a part of their cultures.
Well, that's amazing. And so I'm glad that you were able to take that chance on yourself and to move out to Canada. And how was the transition for you, going to Canada and even backtracking, like in your final weeks or months in India? How was it just knowing that you're going to head to another country and essentially start over, but continue your experiences?
Oh, it was intense. Um I graduated in when did I graduate? 2022, in like June of 2022, and I moved here August of that year. So it was like 2 months, and like my life was just fully different in those 2, 3 months. Like mentally, I knew for like 3 months, 4 months that I was gonna go to Canada, but I finished my undergrad and then I moved back home for like 2 months, and I was with my family for 2 months before I moved here. And it it changed me as a person. That's the only way to say it, because when you move to a new country, and especially in a country where you don't know anyone, you are the only person you have to rely on. You and the people you meet and the community you build. And being challenged with that, where I didn't even know how transport worked here, or I didn't know like the social cultural cues. Like I was fully new to this place. I've never visited before. And to come to that, and I had great people surrounding me. Like I had amazing professors in my postgrad, and I had really good friends and classmates, and we were all in this together. And yeah, I look back now and I'm like, I was a different person when I moved here. I have a lot more confidence now and a lot more abilities to figure things out for myself, because I had to, like, in that moment, figure things out. I didn't have a lot of people to rely on. So it definitely gave me those skills.
Well, I'm so glad that you were able to grow in your confidence and your independence. And
Yeah.
since you mentioned that you had never visited, prior to moving, so what made you choose? Well, I said Toronto of all places, or Canada at least, because I definitely know that you mentioned that you wanted to experience multiculturalism and a new environment, but were there any other places you had under consideration?
I had a few places. Australia was one of them. I did think about Australia. I think Australia and Canada were my two top picks. I think it came down to Toronto because of the marketing space here, the marketing and PR. I think it provided a good blend of exposure to a lot of companies I would be interested in working for. So I remember like going on coffee chats when I was in India and trying to figure out what I want to do and talking to people here. And I think their experiences in marketing, it really helped me solidify my choice. And even the postgrad that I did, I spoke to some people who did that postgrad and they spoke very highly about the skills that they had learned in that program. So I was like, that's something I want to do. And that's somewhere I want to be. And also, it was a different climate and like a different it's a different space than where I grew up. I grew up in a very tropical city. It was always humid. It was always warm. Our winters were 12 degrees. And now I'm here where winters are minus like negative 20 degrees. So I was like, let's try something different.
And would you say that you've enjoyed it thus far?
I have. It hasn't been without challenges, but you learn from those challenges and you enjoy it. And yeah, I think looking back in the last almost 3 years now, I'm like, I have made a lot of friends. I have made a lot of memories, and somewhere along the way, this space feels like home now.
I'm so glad, and that's so great. And what would you say was the biggest learning curve, for moving abroad?
So many learnings, it's hard to pick only one. I think important part, and I spoke about it a little bit earlier, is to have trust in yourself, but also trust in the community around you. Because it's important to have trust in yourself and confidence in yourself to do anything, but to also build that community and have those people to rely on. It helps you when things get tough, because especially when you're abroad without family, things can get lonely, things can get dark, and you don't really have anyone to rely on. But that's when you rely on those friends, those connections you have built, those communities. And sometimes it takes active effort to build those communities. Like back home, I feel I was born here, I belonged there. So it was just, I was already a part of these communities growing up, but here I have to be very intentional in where I am spending my time to see what communities I'm building around me and the people I'm surrounding myself with. So that's definitely different than back home, and that has been a very intentional learning, because communities goes a long way. Like they are people belong in communities. We can't thrive by ourselves.
Oh, I fully agree. And I like that you were saying a little bit earlier, you said the communities that you build. And so are you able to speak a little bit about that? Like, what is the importance of having community that you've built?
I think I'm still building these communities. I'm only here for like 3 years now. But when I say communities I built, it's the friends I made and like my classes, and showing up for them as much as they are showing up for me. Because you could go to class and you could not interact with people and you could still learn and go out. but like interacting with my classmates, spending time with them outside of classes, that is what kind of solidified our friendship. And I think it's easier to do when you're in classrooms. That's one of the easiest ways to build communities because you already have this class in common. You're probably already in like a similar field if it's like a postgrad or something like it was for me. So making those friends, talking to them, showing up for them, and that helped like the first round of community, I would say. And then once you start working, it gets a bit more difficult to build those communities because once you're working, like you're meeting the same people every day, which I love the people I work with. That's a different part of my community, but you have to actively put yourself in positions to meet new people, whether it's hobbies you do, places you visit, things you like. For me, music has been a big way to like build those communities with other people who like the same music I do. Or I think I mentioned this earlier, I'm taking French classes. So like that's a great way to build another kind of community with like other French learners. And I think every interest can be a community if you spend time and space around it. And I think it's important to do that so that you don't feel that lonely here.
I really love what you have to say about that, and yeah, I feel that oftentimes for our own personal communities, that it's so important that as much as it gives us strength, that we need to give that strength back as well, and that yeah, friendships and relationships of any kind, they're not just one way. We have to work towards it.
Yeah, and I saw this on like I think it was TikTok or something some the other day, which was we need to be the friends who we others can rely on for us to rely on them. Like if my friend is moving, I'm there to like help them move. I'm not saying that everyone has to do it. It's just my way of building a community where if they're moving, I'm there to help them move. If there's an event they want to go to but nobody wants to go with them, I'm gonna go with them. Even if I don't know what this event is or I don't have any interest in it, just to spend time with them. Like I'll go wherever they want me to go with them. And that's just how I build my communities.
Oh, I 100% agree. I mean, I know for for me and some of my friends, some of them are in the midst of their career movings, trying to figure out what to do next, and so I've been able to speak with them and to have conversations. And does it take some time? Of course, but you have to be able to be willing to give that time, or at the very least, give some sort of acknowledgement that you care. Because like you said, it just can't be one way, or you just reach out when you need it. It's not a transaction.
Yeah, and I think some of the closest friendships I've built have been through just showing up for each other. Like one of my friends who I'm really close to, I met her while we were both volunteering for an event. And then she asked me for coffee 3 months later. And I was like, sure. And I met her for coffee. And since then, like, we just keep inviting each other to like different events. Like, oh, there's this music show happening. Do you want to come? Or she's like, oh, there's this event happening. Do you want to come? And like, we really got close through just like going to places together and just doing things together. And yeah, it happens. It also, I'm a very big introvert. So for me to like put myself out there, it's been practice. So I'm not going to say it's easy, but sometimes you just have to do it.
Oh, I 100% agree. I'm pretty introverted myself and somewhat reserved, and so even hosting this podcast is a something I would have never expected to to do several years ago. But to me, these are one-on-one conversations, and I've always enjoyed what they're able to offer. And so, how has it been for you adjusting and not just building your confidence, but also getting your name out there and to give back to different communities like the communication one?
I think a big part of that has been through volunteering. I started volunteering for different organizations 2 months into my postgrad, so like I just moved here, and my professor was the one who encouraged me to like go out and seek these opportunities. And I actually eventually also landed my role through someone I met while volunteering. So I always advocate for volunteering if you have the free time and the capacity to do it, because I know we don't always have, if we're all working, studying, it's a lot of things we are doing. But even if you have like an hour or 2 hours, like I would volunteer with IBC, which is International Association of Business Communicators. And yeah, I met so many people through there. And Again, I met like a couple of my closest friends through there, and we still stay in touch and we still talk to this day. And yeah, I think that helped a lot. And I like to challenge myself a lot. So another challenge I had for myself was before I started working, like this was like in my second semester, I wanted to meet one new person every week. So for a whole quarter, like sorry, not May, January to March, I met one new person each week on like a coffee chat or like virtually in person, one or the other. And I think that helped build a lot of connections with a lot of people in the city.
That's outstanding. I mean, I know I love meeting people, but that's so great that you're able to meet one new person per week. And what would you say that you've learned about yourself during that process?
I think I learned that if needed, I can be extroverted and I can talk to people. Like, I used to be scared of talking to people or, I don't know, saying the wrong thing. But by talking to so many people, I think you realize that everyone is human and everyone wants the best for other people, more or less everywhere. Like they are there to support you and they are also looking for those communities, for those bonds, I think. So talking to new people, especially in communications, it was very eye opening to see that different work people do, the people they are, what they do outside of their roles. It helped me get a really good understanding of them as well as the city I'm in. Because a lot of the times I would meet them in like different parts of the city. So it was also a chance for me to explore different parts of the city with them.
That's so great. And you were mentioning a little bit earlier too that you were able to volunteer and get involved into organizations such as IABC. And so, what would you say that you were able to really take away from being a part of those organizations, and how are you involved over the years?
One of the things you take away is the connections you build there, because volunteering gives you a certain set of skill sets. Like if you're interested in social media, you can volunteer for social media and it looks great on your resume. But also the connections you build there and the people you meet, they go a long way. Because some of the people I met, like not even at IBC, I also volunteered at TIFF, which is Toronto International Film Festival. I met a couple people there and we met up for coffee again, like literally 2 weeks ago. Because we thought that we were talking about a communications role and she needed some help. So like I met her. You never know where things will end up, especially when you're in like Toronto. It's such a small city. Like I know it seems big with so many people, but the communication space is so small. If you know five people, you pretty much know everyone because everyone knows everyone. So building those connections was very important for me, and I really enjoyed that. I still do it. Like I still go on coffee chats, and I don't have as much time to volunteer, unfortunately, anymore. But I still meet the people. I still meet new people or try to do that.
But yeah, that's so great that you're able to get involved, and even though that you don't have as much time available now, I'm so glad that you're still at least keeping up with everything to the best of the ability that you can. And so, what are some of the things that you're involved in now?
A lot of the things I'm involved in right now are more personal milestones, I feel. Professionally, I have a job. I work as a consultant. I do a lot of events, influencers. Personally, French has been a very big focus for me, so I'm trying to learn French, which would be my fifth language. So I a lot of my focus is going there. I go to classes. I go to a lot of language events in the city. So like events where people are practicing languages, meeting other French learners, those kind of events. And other than that, I'm also involved in different events happening in the city. So I recently visited like a food event, or because I work with a food brand, so that's why I go to like food events to see what are the other brands doing there. And also I go to like different activations to see what's out there, what other brands are doing for their marketing, because it helps me get inspired for my brands and my campaigns and my plans. So yeah, I think it all comes full circle.
Well, that's so great. And first of all, congratulations on learning your fifth language. I mean, that's pretty cool.
It's hard. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm practicing.
Well, that's good. And out of curiosity, so what are all the languages that you know or are learning thus far?
So English, because I'm talking in English. Bengali, because I am Bengali. My parents are Bengali. We speak Bengali at home. Hindi because I grew up in India and everyone speaks, not everyone, a lot of people speak Hindi there. Then Korean. I picked up Korean during the pandemic because I was bored at home and I was like, this sounds like a great time to pick up a new language. So I learned the alphabet. I can understand when people are speaking. I'm just not good at speaking it myself because I don't have the practice. And French is what I started learning last year. So it's been around, I've been actively taking classes for 8 months, but I've like done French here and there a little for more than a year now. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that is certainly, I mean, outstanding. Out of curiosity, which language would you say that you enjoy the most, whether speaking or learning or even hearing or learning about?
I think it depends. Learning, I enjoyed Korean a lot more than French. Because I don't like femina, masculin, I don't like genders in my languages. Even though Hindi is a gendered language, I learned Hindi when I was really young, like I was 2 or 3, so I don't remember learning all these genders. It throws me off. And the other thing is, Korean grammatically is very similar to Bengali, which is like my mother tongue. So it was just a little easier for me to pick it up, whereas French feels more, it's similar to English, but it has its own weird quirks. So it's harder for me to navigate French. So as a challenge, French is like more of a challenge for me, but Korean is more what I consume every day. It's fun. It's more fun than French. Sorry.
Well, that makes perfect sense, though, and yeah, and I feel that in learning, whether it's languages or otherwise, that there's always these interesting caveats, and even for some things that you may enjoy learning, that there's those hard parts that just
Yeah.
really stump you. Like for me, I love learning about like business information and tech news, but sometimes even in diving through it, some of the specifics are overly complicated that it's like I want to know, but like I do the simple version.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. I remember when we were doing like research studies in my undergrad. I was like, very interesting papers, but I wish it was written more easier than this. Like at this point, this doesn't even seem like English to me.
I completely understand what you mean. And so, how were your postgraduate studies overall?
My postgraduate studies were very interesting, and we was a lot of hands-on learning. We wrote a lot. We write a lot in public relations, so that made sense. In my digital marketing program, we did a lot of different case studies, a lot of group projects. I think one thing about being in communications is you will do a lot of group projects because our roles are pretty much just group projects and talking to people and interacting with people. I think we were able to make those group projects fun because I made a lot of friends through those group projects. There were also frustrating parts, but it was a good experience. And yeah, I think it was a lot of learning, a lot of the things that I still use.
That's good. And what would you say was the biggest difference between studying and learning in India versus in Canada?
I think a lot of the times the difference that people would talk about is how Canada, like Canadian education is more hands-on, and like in India we have just like an end exam, like we have a midterm and we have finals. We don't have like continuous assessments. Except the program I did, it was a bit different. So we did have those continuous assessments. So I felt very used to that structure where I knew that I was going to be like having some kind of assignment every 2 weeks, if not like every week. So I felt prepared for that. It was similar in that way. Maybe the biggest difference was the fact that we could call our professors by their names. Because that's not something you can do in India. It's a different culture. But I remember the first day I was talking to my professors and they were like, you can call me by my name. And I was like, oh, really? But no, I think that was a part. It was also more different cultural opinions because our classes are have like so many people from everywhere. Like I had classmates from like Brazil, from Ukraine, from Japan, from Indonesia. So like it brings a lot of those cultural viewpoints also, which made it different.
Well, that's definitely good to know. I mean, the I mean, some of those differences, and I like that you highlighted the cultural differences as well, and even how you address the classroom and the professors.
Yeah, for sure.
And overall, what would you say was the transition like going from even your postgraduate studies to the industry, and even your time in the industry up to this point?
Industry is different than your classes for sure. It's a lot more real stakes and real clients and real consequences for your actions. Um, but having a good team is something that really made a big difference for me, where I knew that I could learn from my team and rely on my team. It wasn't that I knew everything going into the industry. There were still parts that I didn't know a lot about, but I had good mentors in my organization where I could ask them questions and they trained me on the things I didn't know on. And I think that was an important learning. Like, I think going in, I thought, oh, of course I'll know everything. But then you realize you don't know everything because everything is so nuanced. Working at an agency, I've realized that every client is different. Even if you're doing the exact same thing, the exact same influencer program with two clients, they're going to treat it differently. The brand voice is going to be different. The brand expectations are going to be different. So you can't have a cookie cutter guide for everything. You're going to have to adapt to like every client and every situation and every campaign. So it's still like a learning process and like learning those new skills because the industry is also changing, right? Like what was there 5 years ago is not a thing anymore right now. So and AI happened in the last 3 years, so that had a big change on us. So I thought going in that, oh, I'll know everything, but every day I realize that I need to constantly learn and grow in wherever I am.
Well, that's great that you're at least able to continue growing your skills and evolving. Like saying the industry itself is changing, and what would you even say is the growth and future of the industry? I know, like you're saying, artificial intelligence is now making itself known. In some cases, for better or for worse. But would you say that's the future, or what are your thoughts?
I think people were scared of artificial intelligence taking over everything. I don't think artificial intelligence, just AI, is the future. I think AI needs a lot of guidance from humans to even do anything correctly. It's helpful in some ways. It's helpful in like generating the first idea, but it's rarely ever helpful to create the final draft of something. It's not, it doesn't have those skill sets that differentiates a PR person from anyone else, where you need to have awareness of your surroundings, awareness of your brand, and just knowledge about emotional intelligence or knowledge about your client, your brand, your audience. Artificial intelligence can help you understand it, but it's not going to do your job for you. It can do the more manual tasks of my role, like it can create a spreadsheet, it can make a chart, it can do those things very quickly, but the actual strategy and thinking is still not something it can do. That being said, I think strategy in PR itself is changing a lot. I mean, it's pretty common knowledge. A lot of like news organizations are shrinking. There have been so many layoffs in the last few years in news organizations, and the people who are left there, they are getting pitched endlessly. So the way we pitch them is different, and I have seen a lot of growth in like influencers. I work a lot on influencer campaigns, so that's been a big part of what has changed in the industry in the last few years, where more and more brands that have never done influencers before are now doing influencers. They are doing mailers, they are doing campaigns with paid influencers, events. So I think that's where it's heading, where AI supports us with more menial, not menial, manual tasks where like I could be thinking about bigger things if I let AI worry about my spreadsheets, and then we as humans evolve to do more strategy.
Well, that's definitely good to know, and it sounds like you're like in a perfect position to see and feel the evolution of the industry as it happens.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting time where things are changing. Like when I started, when I was an intern, we did not use as much AI as I do right now. So it's definitely made a difference.
Yeah, and so with that being said, I actually did, for anyone who's tuning in that may not be familiar as much with the industry. So and maybe a bit confused as to where AI starts and where AI stops and then you start. And so, what parts would you say are a task that you might have AI's assistance with, but then something that you might do that the AI perhaps can't do or needs guidance for?
I think one of the ways we use AI a lot is tracking. So, a big part of our roles in PR is tracking news coverage for our clients. So, for two of my clients, I do daily media monitoring for them, where I'm tracking which organizations are mentioning them, what kind of mentions here are they positive, negative, neutral, sentiment analysis. And AI makes it easier to get those data in a spreadsheet and then help you find those trends. It can't tell you why those trends are happening necessarily, like we have tried. The ideas are not always there, but it can tell you that this is what's happening. Like if you feed it a big spreadsheet, it will give you those trends or like those numbers to look out for. For example, I'm working on this really big influencer program where we have 60 posts over a quarter. So that's a lot of data. With like 60 posts, you have each post has impressions, CTR, CPM, video completion rates. Like we have so much data, and to go through that manually takes some time. To have AI like feed into that data and find those trends for us, and then for us to like think about why those trends might be happening. That's a way that I use AI a lot in like my Excel sheets and in my tracking. But even other than that, if you're stuck on an idea, AI can help, not good ideas, but some ideas. Like, very rarely is an AI idea the idea, but it's a great starting point from which we as humans can build on. For example, if you need an event on a specific date on a specific thing, you can ask it for examples. And then some, like out of the 20 examples, one might stick, and then you can take that idea and build upon that.
Okay, that's definitely good to know. And yeah, I feel that what you're saying is definitely so spot on, and I think will really help those who that aren't really confused, because I know that when AI really first came to the scene and it had been perfected from just its original start of a I can do this, it's like, is that really it? But now it's really become sophisticated. But just as you were saying, that I think you outlined perfectly, is that it can't do everything, and it needs that guidance and people who aren't afraid of it, but rather able to embrace it while also figuring out what's wrong with it.
Yeah, and also AI is it's an echo chamber, especially if you're using AI. Like it starts mimicking your thought processes, mimicking your beliefs. So if you want to, you need to interact with other humans. Like that's why we have brainstorms where we invite so many people, right? Because my AI can only give me ideas that I feed into it, and then like on the internet, it's not really that original. But using those and taking those and talking to other people on it, that's what gives you those original ideas.
Okay, that's actually really interesting, to know, and I think just really helps, me, and I'm sure those tuning in better understand where we stand, because I think that we oftentimes see the headlines of AI does this, it does that, but knowing how it works in practicality, I think, is so important, and than just the potentials per se.
Yeah. And I highly encourage people to like try out ChatGPT, the free version, see what it can do, test its limits. Like it can do a lot more things than you give it credit for.
Well, I'm certainly excited to see how it will continue to grow and evolve in our everyday lives. And so, even though I haven't at this point in time used AI, for instance, like with ChatGPT, I know, like for Riverside FM that I use to record these podcasts, like we are now, that they have so many new built-in AI features, such as keywords that allow for me to find different moments that happen within the episode a lot quicker than trying to rewatch a whole, let's say, hour footage. That's very time consuming.
Exactly. I think that's what AI is best used for, where leave AI to do the time consuming things so you can do the creative, well thought out things. Because also, I want to be mindful of the environmental effect that AI has. because we have read articles on it. We know it's bad for the environment, and it's not like a lot of our governments are doing a lot for the environment and climate change. So I do want to be mindful of that also. Yeah, it's we have to find a way to cohabitate together while also protecting our environment, I think.
Oh, 100%. And I think that you just brought up such a great point, too, is that we need to know and understand it so that way we can also know its limitations and what we can do to, like you said, protect the environment and everyone else's like privacy and these other concerns that if we don't look into it, we'll never really comprehend or understand.
I know, and there's a I don't remember where I saw it. It might have been Pinterest. It was basically saying that AI should be the one doing all our chores so we can go out write poems. And I think that like I'm not quoting it correctly, but that was the general essence of it. And I think that's a great way to look at AI, where let AI do all the manual things so we can be the ones doing the creative things.
Yeah, that certainly is such a great way to think about that. And I think overall that even post pandemic, trying to figure out the sort of what's next in our everyday lives too, because I know that in the midst of 2020, that everything had to switch almost completely online for the pandemic. And we've had a lot of really new innovative ideas, but fortunately, unfortunately, it seems that a lot of organizations, companies, and some individuals even have sort of forgotten about many of those innovations or focusing more on the downsides and not the positives. And so I think, in my thoughts and perspective, is that we're going to see some of these innovative ideas, or at least the evolution of them, start to slowly be reintroduced back because we might say, oh, well, that remote work thing that had existed for years and years long before the pandemic, but was popularized by then. It's like, well, maybe it might look a little different, but stuff like that I think can really benefit and help with even like a work life balance, or at the very least, um, a better solution than some things that we're doing now.
I agree with that. I think, yeah, a lot of the things changed so drastically. So I think when people found that semblance of normalcy, they wanted to fully revert back to like 2019. But that's just not how it's gonna work. Like you have to find a way to, because it fundamentally changed us as humans and it changed our society, I think. Like if COVID didn't happen, we wouldn't be here. It wouldn't, a lot of things wouldn't have happened as fast as it did, like the growth of technology and remote work and all the things that came with it. So we have to accept that and grow with it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I know I started doing these interviews for my podcast about January 2020. So, truly, right when everything was beginning to change, I was doing once a month at the time. And then coming back for weekly episodes beginning in early December of 2020. I mean, it was really able to document that growth in real time, and I thought it was just so interesting. And I mean, I think that itself could almost be like a study looking back and see how our perceptions change from then to now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot has like it has made us different people because being home for 1 year without a lot of social interaction, I'm sure it has more long lasting effects than we are aware of right now.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I'm so curious to see what textbooks will have to say about the 2020s, yeah, in just a few years.
Oh, it's gonna be interesting. It's definitely gonna be a big history lesson for anyone studying.
Yeah, it definitely will be. And out of curiosity, how were things and for the pandemic um, for you? Because were you still in India at that time?
I was in India at that time. It was a lot. The first year of the pandemic, I was with my parents in my hometown. That was a different challenge because we were doing everything remotely. A lot of my professors had to like very quickly figure out how to use Teams and everything. It was, and a lot of the classes I was doing at the time, like we were doing theater. How do you do theater on Zoom? Like, we gotta figure that out, I guess. Yeah, it was an interesting experience to be there. I think it also made us more stressed because I think when you're in person with your classmates and you are going through like stress of assignments together, you feel some kind of camaraderie of like at least there are these other people who are also suffering like them. Not to say that education is suffering, but like sometimes you have a lot of assignments. But doing that by ourselves, we felt so siloed that we couldn't talk to a lot of people like constantly, or like it made everyone feel a lot more lonely, I think. And then the second year of the pandemic, I moved back to my college town because I went to a different city for college. And I remember everything was starting to open up because we were like, okay, we'll do like a hybrid class where twice a week we'll go into classes. So I go back to the city, twice a week we are doing classes. A month after that, everything shuts down again for the second lockdown because things have gotten bad. And this was one of the worst COVID waves in India. And especially in my city, a lot of people passed away, and it was bad. And I couldn't get a flight back to my city because of a lot of reasons, and flights were down. So I was just here in a different city, me and two of my roommates, in a building, like in our dorm, which is supposed to house 40 people. We were just three people in this whole dorm, and we are the only people who met each other for 3 months. So it was something out of a movie, I think. Like I can't, like looking back, I'm like, that was crazy.
Well, I'm so glad that you were able to at least stay safe during that time and continue to to learn and grow. And what would you say even that looking back now that you were able to learn the most about yourself during that time?
I think at that time, one of the things I learned about myself is how okay I am with being by myself. I know it's kind of opposite to what I was saying about communities, which I still think is very important. And COVID did show us that communities are very important. But left to your own devices, like I know how to like entertain myself and be by myself for a couple of weeks at a time. Like I'll be fine. Maybe there's the introvert in me talking, where like if I don't necessarily like meet people or go out, if I'm just by myself in a room, I'll find ways to entertain myself. I'll create things. I think it made me a lot more creative. That's the real takeaway now that I'm thinking about it. Like because I had so much time and not a lot to do, like I was like filming things, I was photographing things, I was writing so much more. And when I say writing, I mean like creative writing, like I was writing a lot of like short stories and poems. Yeah, it gave me a lot of time to just think and self reflect and like channel that energy in creative ways, which right now I don't do a lot of just because I'm so busy doing other things.
Well, I'm so glad that you were able to embrace yourself and to find new things to do. And I think that's the strength that that all of us should learn at some point. Maybe not by a pandemic, but but in other creative ways.
Yeah, yeah, it really it's like I was reading this somewhere, and I'm probably quoting this wrong, but it's how if you leave children by themselves, they try pretend play and they learn their environment, they learn to do different things. I feel like as adults, we have to relearn that. To like, we constantly have so much distraction around us. We have our phones, we have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have things to do. But if we're just left alone for half an hour, 1 hour by ourselves with our own thoughts, scary, I know. But what do we do in those situations?
I think that's really a great. I mean, because I mean, it's so true.
Yeah, I guess so. We have to challenge ourselves.
Yeah, we really do. And I did want to allow a moment to flip this too. And so, are there any questions for me while we're speaking?
Yeah, I want to know what motivated you to start this podcast.
Ooh, that's such a fascinating question. And so, I would say it was a variety of factors in a relatively short time. And so, for me, I've always been a very introverted person, always in my thoughts, so to speak. And so, even back to elementary school, like I remember being at in the cafeteria at lunch, just staring off into space and thinking, like, oh, there's a TV over here. How does it work? How's everything plugged into it? Who invented this? And so I had always wanted to learn more about anything and everything. But despite being a rather quiet person, I've always liked helping others in any way that I can. And so at the time, my personal goal was to become a teacher and have a company that can do some sort of media stuff, but I didn't really know what that would entail. I just knew I was going to have this company, no real plan as to how what to do with it. But um, all that to say, though, is I ended up going to a STEM based middle school, learning all about the sciences and the technology, and I loved the environment that it was able to produce. But I had an assignment where in eighth grade for my civics and economics class. They said, come up with a company plan and present it. And so I was like, well, I already have a whole plan for my life. But I want to be that creative person that to me, using the plan I already had felt like cheating. And so I was like, I want a whole new plan. And so I was really interested in the technology at the time. So I was like, let's make a technology company to help others. And so I presented that. I titled the fictional company Brands Tech, and my the funny thing is that my teacher he used to present his favorite projects on his wall, and so almost all my projects I'd done for that whole class had all been on the wall, but he didn't pick that one. He did he did pick that one for that assignment, and I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna make this realistic. I started a YouTube channel where I did tech stuff, and sure enough, over the years, I evolved it into having conversations with others, and then a podcast, a blog, um, and then over that time, I went from asking technology questions to asking questions out, you know, like how'd you get to this point in your life, and like we were saying earlier with the pandemic, it's like how are you coping with everything in the pandemic? You know, let's have a time where we can chat, and so it's really evolved over the years to where we are now in 2025, being able to have conversations, getting to know others, and utilizing technology to do this. And I think it's just so extraordinary to think of where I started in May of 2016 to now, and as of recording May of 2025.
That's actually so fascinating that, and also kudos to you for like staying disciplined, for doing it for so many years. Because I think a lot of us creatives have like ideas of pet projects, but we don't really always see it through. But the fact that you saw it through, I saw your YouTube, like you constantly post and you've posted for so many years. It's a so much dedication, and like you should be really proud of yourself.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. And it's so interesting, like, and even thinking in retrospect to when I started, because I know a lot of times people say, like, oh, well, they had this whole plan, this and that. I didn't really, when I started, I didn't really have a plan per se. I was just doing it because I wanted to help out others. And that, I don't know, it was something where it's just like, okay, I'm going to upload a video and another and another. And that over time, it just became what I do now. And so it's had various different names and iterations, podcasts, blogs, YouTube videos, whatever it may be.
Yeah,
But it's crazy to think of starting 9 years ago and ending up here.
I know. And it's always, I think, you don't realize how the small things affect you in the long term. Like one small decision you made, what might have at that point seemed small, and yeah, you don't know how that affects you later.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure even for you and your decision to to pick up your things and move to Toronto. I mean, how was that for you now that you are in the industry, you've done your postgraduate, and you're able to be here now having this conversation about your experiences?
I think it's a bit surreal. I It feels so familiar now that it's hard to think that there was a point where all of this was strange to me and like foreign to me. Like when I moved here, I didn't know how the streetcar worked. I did not know the local slang. I did not know any of these places. And now I can probably guide people on where to go and things to do in the city. Not the country. I haven't seen enough of the country, but the city I'm very familiar with. Yeah, like it feels like home in a lot of ways. And I think it does that also because of all the challenges. Like everything here is something that I have built in the last 3 years, and like people I've met. So I think it's very surreal to think that how one decision, big decision, can just change your life. And I'm glad it worked out for the better because it could have worked out in any way. So I'm really grateful for all the good things and the good opportunities.
I'm so glad that, I mean, that truly all has worked out. And I'm sure that you're going to continue as doing your absolute best, continue learning new things, continuing your, your French studies and everything in between.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope you continue with your podcast too. Like, I'm so excited to see what more you do with it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, it's been such an honor being able to do this, speak with amazing people, to include yourself, and it's one of those things where you really don't know what you're able to do until you just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. You just have to just put your mind to it and just do it sometimes, right? That's very motivating.
Absolutely.
I think I'm motivated by you right now.
Thank you, and likewise. I mean, just hearing what you're able to do and accomplish when you put your mind to it, I think is just so extraordinary, and I'm so glad that that we're having this conversation.
Me too. This was very insightful. Thank you, Brandon.
Of course, and I think that leads perfectly into what's on the beginning of our closing thought. And so the first question for that is: so, what does it mean for you to be able to tell your story here on the podcast?
I think it's sharing one story which hopefully gives someone hope. I know things are not always easy, they rarely ever are, but you just have to keep going sometimes. And it's also a reminder for myself like, I don't know where I'll be 3 years from now, 4 years from now. So I think it's also a reminder to myself to be like, hey, remember at that point in that year you were in Toronto living your life, and this is how you felt. So it's a nice time capsule.
I love that. And speaking of that, I actually did want to ask too. So, when you're hopefully rewatching this when this releases in about a month, what do you want your future self to know?
What do I want my June self to know? I think I want her to know that things fall in place when they are meant to. You can worry about it all you want. What's meant to happen will happen. And you can just live the best you can. Do everything that you want to do. Yeah. I think that would be my statement to pretty much everybody. Like, do the best you can do. You don't know what your time is like.
I love that. And I did want to segue that into asking. So, if anyone watching would like to get in contact with you, get to know you, or whatever the case may be, where's the best place for them to continue following your journey?
Yeah, I am trying to post more on Instagram. So that's this is Srijoni. So that's this is and my name Srijoni, Srijoni. It's a hard name, I know. If not, I also have a LinkedIn where I sometimes post mostly about my career stuff, which is also just Srijoni Sarkar. Those are the two best ways to get to me.
Well, that's perfect. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to allow for you to go ahead and close out our episode with whatever be a life lesson, inspirational thought, or whatever the case may be. The floor is all yours.
Um, it's going to be a interesting journey. You don't know where life takes you. All you can do is say yes and go on with it. It's the same as improv, right? Just yes and through life. And yeah, thank you for having me. This was very helpful. It was a very reflective for me too. It gave me a lot to think about and introspect on.
I absolutely love that. I've loved hearing everything from your career journey to the languages that you're studying, the importance of the communities that you build, and everything in between. And definitely please keep in touch.
Absolutely, you too.
Yeah, and for those tuning in, thank you so much as always for tuning in to the Tansson Talks show. I always appreciate your support. We're having a strong start to 2025 and we're going to continue it. Have a wonderful day.